So who we got coming on today, Sam?
We've got my dad coming on. We're going to talk about when he had cancer. He had cancer when I was about 4 years old, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to come on and we're just going to spread a bit of awareness for that and encourage people to get themselves checked if they feel anything unusual, even if they don't.
Yeah.
It's probably quite good to get checked up every now and then anyway, if you've not felt too good about yourself or whatnot. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of an emotional one, I think.
Yeah, how do you feel about him? I mean, obviously you've convinced him to come on, I'm guessing.
I just asked him and he just said, he likes to spread awareness for it. I think once you've been through something like that, you do. When he was our football manager, he done a campaign to get people to check and stuff, and he does stuff for charities for it and that. So I think anything to spread a bit of awareness, he would be game for anyway.
Yeah.
You been all right?
Yeah. No, I've been good, mate. It's there's definitely been a change of everything really. I think the last week or two since I sort of got my shit together and made my mind up and settled back into what I'm doing at work, and a real improvement. The only thing I haven't sorted out yet is my bloody eating and my regime with sort of keeping myself fit and training again. That went off the rails, and just at the moment I'm still trying to make them adjustments to get that back in order, but I'll get there. I'd like to say I'm in a much better place, and mentally I feel like I'm functioning a lot better.
That is my goal now as well, to get back into shape.
Some
timber.
It takes some commitment, and that's something that I've always had a good routine with, but every now and again I get these things that just throw me right out of sync and I lose all my motivation. And I know from various times before, all it takes is that first time, either getting out for a run or getting myself to the gym and getting a good sweat on. I'll click back into it.
Yeah, but that's what I've been like in the past. But I've done a HIIT workout the other day, and I haven't done one since. But I'm going to try and do. That's why I've set myself a little target. I want to do 7 days in a row, and I'm hoping that 7 days in a row will
should do. Yeah, it's just that. That's getting your body. That's shocking your body back into that routine.
Yeah. Do you know what? I ate so bad after just one HIIT workout. I was doing them every day about a year and a half ago, but I am determined. I am going to get back into shape 100%, and I've said it on here now. So
it's your target, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I have struggled a little bit the last few, with motivation, not just with exercise, but with the dips a little bit as well. I force myself to go a couple of times, but I am sort of cutting back from when I'm doing the double shifts and that as well. I don't want to burn myself out, so it's finding balance.
Getting your balance right.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, we've had our first little bit of negativity with the podcast. Someone said that they don't like the swearing.
They don't like the swearing?
No, I told them to fuck off. I didn't really.
I get it. And I think I can totally bear that in mind. I think the way you set this whole podcast out from word go, before I was even joined in and sort of got involved in it, was around that kind of raw feelings with it.
Well,
and
the thing is, and like I said in the politest way, the thing is, it's. But I've pretended to be someone I'm not for years. When I was in the addiction, now I swear, and swearing doesn't. I don't have a problem with swearing. I'll tell you why. I actually quite like it. The only time I have a problem with swearing is if you're being aggressive towards someone or something like that. I actually think swearing enhances how you feel about something and adds more passion to it. So I do apologise if people don't like the language, but I'm not going to take it out because. And also, if you've listened to a podcast that's been talking about people taking lives and stuff like that, and the only thing you've got out of it is offence from swearing, then you're probably not listening to
and I think that's what I was going to go on to, mate. I think what we're doing here is raw, it's unedited. We're dealing with some heavy material, And it's just language. I mean, bloody Shakespeare used swear words. That's where a lot of them come from.
Old fashioned to not like it. I think that's my
and,
opinion.
You know, and at the end of the day, I'm a university student. You know, I've got a degree. I've got a good job, and like I swear all the time as part of my language. Yeah. I can speak very astute if I need to. Yeah. But when I'm casual and I'm being open and I'm being honest, it comes out. And I'll never apologise for that.
I'm exactly the same.
Only if people take offence for it, I apologise that you took offence, but I certainly won't be changing the way I talk for anyone.
Either, mate. I think we both agree on that.
100%, yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
So thank you, but no thank you. As always, if people would like to listen to our podcast and continue to listen to our podcast, we are most appreciative. If you ever get offended or you're not happy with something, then by all means just don't listen to us anymore. That's fine as well.
Yeah, but mostly all positive, and I don't think they were being malicious, but
and just to counterbalance that, I had 3 colleagues of mine over the last couple of days come and tell me, I had no idea they'd tuned in and listened, but they told me that they'd actually listened to the first, I think, 5 or 6 episodes, and loved it. And they were really, really positive about it, and they were really they couldn't be more complimentary about what we were doing and this kind of journey that we're going on with it. So just to counterbalance that vibe,
I've had a lot of positive stuff as well, but the one thing that has stuck out is a lady's husband's decided to go into a rehab thing. I never went to rehab. I've done rehab course before. I do AA meetings, but he feels rehab's best for him, and that was off listening to the back of one of our podcasts as well. So we're changing lives and can't ask for much more than that.
Mate, that's brilliant, really good. Anyways, back to today. Please enjoy the podcast.
Right, this is Sam.
Jack.
It's Dare to Talk today. We've got my dad Andy as a guest. You all right?
Hello. Yeah.
We're going to be talking about well, whatever you want really, but the topic's about when you had cancer. We never really spoke about it, really, have we?
You were only 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Okay. Yeah. What I remember is me and my brother sat on my top bunk bed, and you come in with shorter hair and making a joke of it and slapping your head. And then a couple of, must have been weeks later, I don't know, but you come in, you were completely bald and you were making a joke of it, laughing, and then you went back out the room, and I didn't really think much of it at the time. And I remember going to a theme park, and you had a hat on, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that come off.
I used to wear a cap all the time. Yeah. In that, initially with the chemotherapy, I lost all my hair, obviously, but that was everything. At first, it was just the hair. And I wasn't feeling that bad because when the hair just went, but then after about the second session, because I had to have what they call slow induced chemo, so I had to go in for a week at 7 days and then out for 2 weeks, in for 7 days, out for 2 weeks, 4 times. And after about the second session, everything went, eyebrows, eyelashes, everything went, and then that's when I started to feel really rough. And that was the annoying thing, because before I started the treatment, nobody knew I was ill. As soon as I started the treatment and the consequences of the treatment, that's when I think people thought I was on the way out.
Yeah. Did you not tell anyone then that you were?
Not before that, no. I mean,
so what was sorry doing that? So what was the build up to this? How did?
Well, it was testicular cancer. And I found it myself, and I went to the doctors because there was a good campaign in the late 80s, early 90s about checking yourself, and I was just checking myself in the bath. Felt things seemed like a bit of grit in there, you know. So I went to the doctors. He couldn't feel it the first time, and then the second time, about a month or so later, it got to the size of a pea. So I went along, and he could feel it that time, and he sent me up. But they did what the pregnant women have, ultrasound, and sent me away. And I got a phone call 2 or 3 weeks later, and was it the phone call? No, sorry, we went back up for the results. That's right, Mum and myself. and they said everything's okay, it's fine, you obviously had an infection, you're okay. And then we're at home one weekday and the phone rang and it was the consultant, and he said, you need to come up and see us. And that didn't make me feel good.
No.
And we went up. I said on the phone, I said, what's it about? And he said, we'll discuss it when you come up. And then when I went up, he said, we do believe you have got cancer. I said, well, why did you say everything was fine? And he said, well, you got the result back on the good one. Because they did both.
Yeah.
And they said the results for the one with the tumour got lost, and it's just turned up. I remember thinking at the time, it was a bloody good job it turned up. Really.
Yeah. How long was that after the first results?
2-3 weeks maybe.
God, that's a lot. That could have been vital, couldn't it?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a mistake to make.
How was that? I mean, obviously I hear lots of friends and family and all sorts of people who've been linked with cancer and whatnot.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about that sort of initial, when they drop the cancer word on you? I suppose a lot of people talk about that thing.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling. The problem was my wife had just lost her dad to cancer. That only a couple of months beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And to then be told her husband has got it, and me being hit with that word, it was a strange, a sort of disbelief at first. But then you get in the system and you go and see the oncology consultants and what have you. In those days there wasn't the unit at Heathrow. They used the old Anglesey Road Hospital, and it was a really old Victorian place. And when they took me up for my first set of treatment, they put me in the room when Grandad had died.
Really?
and one of the hospital nurses remembered and said to Mum, what are you doing up here? And she explained. And she said, well, the first thing we need to do is get me out of that room, which they did. They put me in another room on that occasion, but 2 out of the 4 times I had to go on the ward with other patients, and it was all cancer patients in that old Anglesey, and that wasn't a pleasant experience, because I was the youngest by a long shot, apart from one other lad who I met in there twice on 2 of the occasions. But I mean, there were people dying on the ward there and then while you were in. Now it's all modern place up at Heathrow, and you're in your own room, etc. But I'd wake up in the night and curtains had been drawn around someone and the family was there, and it wasn't very nice.
No, that must have added to your anxieties as well. Did it make you? Did you suffer with mental health for a bit? You said just before this we had a little chat, and you said you didn't seem real, did it?
No, I think the worst was getting through. You I don't know if it's the right way of putting it, but I wouldn't have had time for that. I don't think. I was anxious when I was in hospital because I hated being in there.
Yeah.
And constantly I was hooked up to drugs and drip, saline, and I had to do blood transfusions constantly because of the treatment, and I absolutely hated that. And I remember one occasion, Mum came to see me, and I was absolutely tearing at the walls, and the Mum went and got the nurse, and she said, I think you need something to calm him down, and she brought over this cassette tape with whale music on it. And I picked it up and I threw it against the wall and it smashed to pieces. And she came over and she said, I think he needs something a bit stronger. She stuck this needle in my leg, and I just went, whoa. I'll have plenty of that, please. Whatever it was.
Well, it's stronger than the whale music anyway. Yeah. How old was you when this was going on? So I was about 4, Ash was still 3.
I was diagnosed at 29, 1989. But because they did some initial tests on me, and you have what's called tumour markers in your blood, and they keep an eye on them, and initially mine went way up, and then they went back to normal. And I remember the oncologist saying, very unusual. It's never happened before. He said, we don't want to give you chemotherapy unless it's absolutely necessary, because by then they'd removed the tumour. You know, we don't want to give you chemotherapy unless it's absolutely not necessary. So for a whole year they monitored me. I didn't start the treatment until another year later, because they were doing CT scans on a regular basis, and then one CT scan picked up some little shadows in my lungs, and the oncologist got me in, and he said, it's played its hand now. He said, can you see these little things? He said, they're about the size of a thumbnail. They're little tumours in your lungs, but it's not lung cancer. It's a secondary from testicle cancer, and it's much more treatable than smokers say lung cancer. You know? And I had all the chemo and everything, and when they CT scanned me afterwards, they found scarring in my stomach as well, so they said it had spread there and to the lungs. But fortunately, and touching wood, all these years later now, obviously the chemo did its job.
Yeah. Was there any point that you feared for your life through that then?
I always thought I was going to survive it. Always did.
That's probably why you did.
Possibly.
Stay positive all the way through.
Yeah, and to be fair, my consultant said if you're going to get one, this is the one to get. It's like, I don't know what he said, 70% curable.
If you catch it early.
It spread, If you, they wouldn't have let it gone any further, obviously. I was doing a job, they were keeping an eye on me, because, you know, eventually if it had gone too far, that would have been it. But, you know, so all those facts were in my favour, and obviously I looked it all up and what have you. Don't think we had phones and Google in them days, so I don't know how
Probably
I looked
a good thing.
and I thought, no, I was quietly confident, but once I started the treatment, I wouldn't wish that on my wish it on my worst enemy.
No, it just must drain you
How
physically and
long was
emotionally.
the treatment for?
It was, like I say, it was a week in, 2 weeks out, week in, 2 weeks out, so 4 sessions.
Wow. Okay.
And they did say there might be more, but fortunately I only had the 4. But it was, I would come out and I'd have a week recovering where it felt absolutely, because I was, it was sickness, you know, you really bad sickness with chemo, that type of chemo anyway, and lost loads of weight, went down to about 8.5 stone, I think, something like that. And that's why I think people thought I was really ill then, but it was the treatment.
Did people treat you any differently then, did they?
I think people sort of crossed the road to avoid speaking to me when I looked like that, or maybe they didn't recognise me.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah,
people do that anyway, don't they?
yeah, still do it now. Yeah.
No, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
So you've not. You don't have to have any treatment or anything now, do you? Don't have to go back to checkups and nothing now?
No, they kept an eye on me on a monthly basis to start with, then it went to a couple of months, then it went to every 6 months, and then after 5 years it was once a year. And then after 10 years he said, you can consider yourself completely cured.
Yeah.
And he did say, you can keep coming back once a year to have a check, but I was so fed up with it by then I said no, because of what would I have been 39, 40. I said no, but in hindsight that would have been a good thing to do, going back once a year for a cancer check.
Yeah.
But there you go.
You say you stayed very positive all the way through it. But what was kind of the impact on the rest of the family? I mean, obviously the kid was very, very little at the time. Were they aware of what was going on?
Funny enough, just before we came here, my wife reminded me of a story where Sam was around a friend's party, and I don't know if you remember, but you said to the mum, you got upset and you said, is my daddy going to die because he's got a boiled egg head like my granddad had?
Oh, really? No, I don't really remember much of it. The only things I do remember was you laughing and joking, which probably made us feel a bit better, like things are going to be alright, but I don't really have any recollection.
I do remember.
It's a word, mate.
Yeah. I'm getting good at this.
I do remember. Again, Mum pointed out, I said at the time, "Oh, thank God it was me and not one of you three." You know. So, but yeah.
Did that cause any like health anxiety after? Did you ever think?
No. If anything, I mean, I've never suffered from anxiety or depression, thank God. You know, and if anything, that made me a lot stronger, because after that, trivial things didn't matter in the slightest. You know, you're just grateful, thankful, and we just concentrated on raising you three. You know, so the biggest thing that got me, I said there was another younger lad in there. He was 24 and I was 29. When I went back in for my third session, I asked the nurse how he's getting on, and they told me he'd died. And that knocked me for absolutely, you know, really set me back. That was like being flattened by a steamroller, that was. And that whole week in, just couldn't get out of my head. You know.
I suppose you probably bonded with him in a way, because you're both going through the same.
Both the youngest in there.
Yeah, and both going through the same thing. Was that the same cancer as what you had?
No, he had non-Hodgkinson's or something like that was called, and he was engaged. He was engaged to the then landlords of the Owl and Pussycat. He was in not the Owl. What is it now called? Not the Owl.
Yeah, it's the Owl.
Yeah, the Owl. Yeah, he was engaged to the then landlord's daughter there, and I remember when I came out, I said, "I'll meet you down there," and we're both bald as badgers, no eyebrows, nothing. We were sat in the corner. We must have looked like a couple of aliens sat in the corner of the pub. But so we, like you say, we did bond.
Because you're both going through the same thing in the same place and everything. Yeah, I can get that. That's a shame. I think.
So sad.
Yeah, and that's like, this is good for you to do this for people to. I feel a bit emotional.
It's an important story to share, because I think so many people, so many families are impacted by cancer. I don't know anyone that hasn't had some either friends or family that have been impacted by it. I mean, quite synonymous with me was when I was at sixth form, and there was a lad in the year above me, and he went off long-term sickness from college. And we didn't really know. It took a long while before we found out he'd actually got cancer. This young lad was like 18. And he managed to come back from it. He was like a year behind. He resat the year, came back, but he was very different. That had really wiped him out. And then it was probably a year later, I'd then left and gone off to uni. But he'd heard that that had come back, and that got him. He ended up dying.
It's not prejudiced to anyone, is it?
No, it's really not. And that affects everyone. I mean, that affects that whole community, but the impact on his younger brother, his family, and it's just.
I think when I had it was 1 in 3 people. It's now 1 in 2 that are affected. But the good thing is the survival rate is a lot better. There are certain ones that they don't know a lot about, which are pretty awful, but. The survival rate, as long as it's the same old thing, it's caught early enough, is much better. But I know you're donating for another charity, but if I could just ask people, I mean, I donate regular monthly to cancer research, and it's so important.
Well, that's what I was going to say, but I couldn't get my words out because I get a bit choked up. But we'll put on a dip, because we've discussed before, we're going to do special dips for different people's charities, but we'll do one for you, and I think that's a great cause to make a loud noise about and get people to check and everything, and we'll do a dip to raise awareness for this cancer. We'll call it Andy's Dip.
Absolutely.
When I was coaching up at Felixstowe and Walton with the under 18s, and I ran a campaign there.
I remember.
And so we just need to get awareness out for young men.
What would you recommend then? Like,
if you're suspicious of anything, the best time to check yourself is in the bath when it's all relaxed, because that's when I first found mine. And then when I went to the doctors, things had all tightened up, I presume, and he couldn't feel it. He was a bit naughty, because when I went back the second time, I said to him, and he said, I'll send you up to the hospital and get them chopped off, make us both happy, shall we? This was a doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when it turned out that I was diagnosed, he couldn't do enough for me after that.
But he probably felt bad. Rightly so.
But I'll never forget that.
Has there been any other cases?
Was you embarrassed?
Not in the family. No, it's not. It wasn't hereditary or anything. So. It's just one of those things.
Was you embarrassed to go and get it checked out?
I mean, it could be hereditary. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't in our family that I know of. So
yeah,
was you embarrassed to get it checked out?
No.
No,
not
I think some people might find that sort of thing embarrassing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be embarrassed.
I've had it checked a couple of times.
Yeah, I have as well. That don't bother me in the slightest.
Yeah.
No. For me, I think having the impact of experience and the story I explained earlier, my friend at college, I think just that made me more aware to keep an eye on yourself and be aware of your own health.
And I think if anyone was embarrassed to go and get something checked out, they've got to just remember that the doctors have seen it or that's their job, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's a big campaign on the telly now. If you feel anything's unusual about your body, go and get it checked out.
I think it's better to be safe than sorry.
100%. Yeah. No, there's nothing to be embarrassed about that at all. No, I get that absolutely.
Are you going to come in for the dip then, Dad? For you?
Have you not done one yet? Have you not?
I swim when we go to the Caribbean.
That's the same thing.
Okay, that kind of tropical.
I don't mind dare to dip there at all.
Yeah. Do you know what? Genuinely, at the moment, that's probably the warmest there's ever been since I've been coming down.
It's nice. Yeah. Today was beautiful. Getting in the water. We've done the dip with the mayor today.
Yes, I saw that. Mate.
Yeah, it was good. It was his last day in charge, so. He got into contact and said he wanted to finish his last day with a dip in the sea. It was a good turnout for him.
As you know, I love swimming. I absolutely love it. But I don't think I've been in the sea here since my 40s.
I remember when we were down the beach up, when you used to get in the water, you'd get into your waist and you'd be there for ages, go wah, waving your arms about, ready, and then you'd count down, and then you'd count down again, and then you count down. Eventually, you got in, and we all got out because it took so long.
I suppose just looking about the sort of coming to you and how obviously you were aware. A little bit as a youngster, but as you grew up and your own awareness of cancer coming, did you ever have any sort of lasting anxieties?
Well, I suffer with health anxiety anyway, not so much these days, but it was a massive part of my teenage years. I always thought I had something, but I don't think it was anything to do with that. I was too young to understand it, and I have thought like how things could have gone differently with, if God forbid, that had gone the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, I think that sort of thing does run in the family on my dad's side.
What's that?
Anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, you can remember Uncle Richard.
Yeah.
Uncle Ted and my dad and granddad weren't so much so, but Uncle Richard was always on tenterhooks, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, Pat, their sister, told me one time that Grandad did used to be a lot like that when he was younger, as well.
Yeah, quite possible.
So I think you either grow out of it or grow into that sort of thing, don't you?
Yeah.
But I don't think it was nothing to do with that, because I used to think I had cancer or a brain tumour or I have an heart attack every 5 minutes when I was a teenager.
That is health anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I remember, just for me, I remember when my granddad passed away, it's about 8-9 years ago. I mean, he did have cancer, but he also had a brain tumour. He had an aneurysm in his back. He really went downhill quick. He had various things wrong with him, but I remember past the sort of the point of him passing, the impact of that was. I remember my mum getting very anxious about her own health, and I think that heightened her feelings towards stuff. The impact on me, not too much. I think I've always just been kind of focused on my own health. I've always had quite a good self-awareness of what I'm doing with myself and where I'm at, and I've had quite regular checkups with the dog, having blood tests and whatnot anyway. With the other stuff I do with my heart and whatnot, and I've had that anyway, but I get it. That's one of the things, like you say, 1 in 2 people are affected by it. But
I mean, we were talking beforehand, me and Sam, that now when I turned 40 it didn't worry me at all. When I turned 50 it didn't worry me at all. When I turned 60, I have probably the first time in my life started to feel a little bit of anxiety, and that's probably because
you only swim in the med.
I don't want to be morbid, but you really start to realise that time is running out. When you're 30, 50 years, that's yonks. When you're 60, you're starting to think.
Yeah, but that's why you can't think dwell on the past too much, and you can't focus too much on the future. You just got to take it day as it
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy each day.
Yeah. Do you think? Did you think like your anxiety now might be because of everything that's gone on the last few years? It's been a rough ride for everyone.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
It's the last 2 years has caused anxiety to go through the roof, I think.
Yeah, I think with everyone. I think.
Yeah. Obviously because we had to close our businesses, didn't we? And it's put an awful lot of stress on us, and we're not fully recovered after reopening.
No.
But there is stress and anxiety.
That's just been it's been such a challenging time for everyone, hasn't they? But especially considering you've had 4 gyms and that is stressful enough having one business through a lockdown.
It's great when everything was going great, but when the pandemic hit, but it's just not us. It's the same for all people in their private lives and businesses, and it's just been a horrible time, hasn't it?
Yeah, anxiety and mental health has gone through the roof, and since I started up what I'm doing, so many different people have opened up and spoke to me about, and you just think, well, you wouldn't even. The scary thing is, you wouldn't even think some people are going through what they've been going through because, like, I'm up for. I love social media. I think we're very lucky to live in a world where we can stay connected with each other, and people do say it's got a dark side to it. I think personally it's how you use it. I use mine in a positive way. Yeah. But what I do agree with, sometimes you do see the highlights of people's life, and when they say to you, "Oh, I'm struggling," which is good, they're open up talking. You think, "Oh, I wouldn't believe that because of."
There's so many people like that, mate. They'll put up this kind of falsehood on there to please what they think, or whatever they want to portray their own.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it as well as people just show the stuff that makes them happy. You're not going to sit there posting pictures of you crying on the sofa, are you?
Then some people do. Some people do, and they use it as a cry for help. A lot of people will do that.
But that's something they used to say about photographs before the digital age. You had to send you away and come back, and you threw away the ones that didn't make you happy. You just put the ones in the album that were all about the happy times.
Exactly.
It's good to remember. It's good to look at those and remember the happy times. But you have to tell yourself there was also times when you were upset.
Well, there's pictures that I've put up in the past that I can't even look at now because I know what dark place I was in, but then I was trying to make everyone think I was alright, so I was that person, do you know what I mean? But now I use my social media as a positive thing, and I try and help people and stuff, which is good. There's people who I've worked with in the past that give you stick. Why'd you put stuff on Facebook? Because I want to. And you live your life on Facebook, and I think, how do you know? Just because you don't post as much. But I personally think that we're lucky, and people jump on the bandwagon going, "Oh, social media this, social media that," and it's a bit hypocritical when they're on it themselves all the time.
If they're on it, absolutely.
But we're lucky that we can take a picture and send it to a family member on the other side of the world. Stay connected with people that live in different countries and towns.
Mum. You can ask Mum. I've always been interested in technology. Obviously, I started out training as a radio and TV engineer anyway, so I was there when news things would come out.
I remember the old video tape recorder you had filming us. You looked like a news presenter. It was massive. This thing on his shoulder. It's bigger than him. Walking around filming us.
And now I've taken all those tapes and digitised them, and they're all on my computer, and they're all in the cloud now, so they can watch themselves as kids wherever they want on any device.
And that's where I think I get it from. I film and take pictures of everything, and I think a lot of people do. People don't choose to share it, but I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm a bit of an open book, and I'm all right with that.
I remember telling Mum once, it must have been in the 80s, I reckon. I said, You do realise one day you won't have to go to the shops. You can just order it and they'll deliver it to your door. Yeah. And she said, "Don't be so stupid."
I remember. Do you remember when we went to Florida, didn't we? And that Epcot, and we were going around a little train thing, and there was videos of like these people FaceTiming people, and they were like, in the future you'll be able to ring someone on the other side of the world face to face. And I remember thinking, behave. I was born yesterday.
Totally. Get that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love technology. It's embraced the right way.
Yeah, no. I love taking pictures of me and the kids and everything, and looking back, and it comes up on your memories and stuff now, and just how much the kids change in a year. is incredible, really, isn't it? And you got to treasure them moments, because once that version of your child's gone, they're getting bigger. That version's gone.
That's why I was so glad I bought that first video camera. I remember getting it, and there was probably the first, because it was 1989. So Ashley was just toddler. He was it wasn't even a year, and I remember every time I went to school plays, because in those days you were allowed to video the school play, everybody would come up to me and say, "Can I have a copy? Can I have a copy? I'll buy you a tape. I'll get a tape." Because you want to keep those memories, don't you? I'm so glad I did do it, because they're there, and not just for us, for future generations. I remember we were on holiday, we were in Rhodes, I think, and I'm on our balcony of our hotel and I'm filming, and I'm saying, I remember saying, "Hi there, I'm your great granddad." If you're watching this, because those will be passed
but you're
on.
right. That's why. That was my mentality of getting a picture when we come out of the water on the dip as well. Because when I first thought about taking the pictures, is because them books that you have of old Felixstowe from years and years ago. I thought these pictures, there's a dip that will go in the history book, and in 300 years' time, people will be looking at it. Look what they're wearing.
You know what I mean? Absolutely.
What the hell's he doing with that tash and beard?
No, definitely. Yes, it's I'd like to think that someone like possibly Ethan springs to mind will take my collection of photographs and videos on and then pass it onto the net, and it'll get handed down through the.
Well, the beauty of this technology, he'll probably be able to do wonders with that.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll probably be able to put it in a bubble or something and send it over to someone.
Exactly.
It's mad.
And then you can do your own research. It'll be much easier to do your family history and your family history trees, because now people do it, but they have to go back to the once you get back pre-photographs and that, it's all documents. So future generations, it's going to be all online, isn't it? Or in the cloud or whatever.
And technology is going to be so more advanced. They'll probably be saying they used to have only these little mobile phones while they're hovering on their hoverboards.
It'll be these glasses, won't it? You just do all this in front of you, see people doing this everywhere.
Dare to dip 3032.
Maybe we'll still be there, mate. Maybe technology would have come along so far, we would still be alive. Imagine.
God. That's a hell of a. You can do the dip.
I'll keep going.
Right, thank you for the chat, Dad. That was brilliant, and just anyone that is listening to this, going through similar thing that my dad went to, there is hope, and anyone that's listening to this that has found something that they're not too sure of, we just encourage you to go and get tested, and it, like my dad said, it's very treatable. So
definitely, thank you for sharing your story, and we'll put up all links on when we post this, and we'll put links up to the charity and
brilliant. You're doing a great job, chaps, and well done for the year's Dare to Dip.
We're definitely going to set up a dip. I've got a couple of charity dips coming up, but we'll definitely get one set up. Cancer research. We'll get a date behind it and make a big thing of it, draw awareness to it, and hopefully save some lives. That'd be
absolutely.
That'd be good. Thank you, Dad. Love you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers.